Hi, my name is Garza. I'm the chairman and CEO and inventor of Janus Energy Resources. What Janus is a brand new dilute that allows us to transfer heavy oil into light oil. This is bitumen from Utah and this is bitumen from Canada. Today we're going to convert this heavy oil, this bitumen, into a light oil that can stand up to this. And so I'm going to do this in front of you and show you exactly how it's done. We're doing it without any smoke and mirrors. This will be strictly done in a desktop scenario where normally you would do this in some sort of a processing plant. So we'll start from that. Alright, we're going to start off with basically Utah tar sands, bitumen, however you want to call it. This basically to most people would be just like asphalt. You can smell the petroleum in it. You can see that there's rocks. I pulled this out of the ground myself in Utah from a very large bitumen field. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this apart and we're going to stick it in this glass out here to show exactly how this will work, to allow how Janus J12 dilute will reduce the tar sands back to oil and sands on the bottom. Basically what we're doing is taking what's been done millions of years ago, that was basically an oil spill, for lack of a better word. That oil made its way to the surface, mixed with regular dirt, and became bitumen. This is more of a dry bitumen, where the Canadian is more of a wetter bitumen in the sense of this. This looks like a clump of dirt. So what we're going to do is take all of this with just using my hand. And normally in a factory setting, you would have this in what we'd call a soaker. We're not using any steam, we're not using any other products on here, we're just going to basically add J12 to this. This is a product I invented, Janus J12, and what J12 is a combination of hydrocarbons. What it allows us to do is to basically coat the soil without using any steam or anything else. It just came straight out of the bottle. We're going to pour this on top of the bitumen here, and it will instantaneously start to mix. We will take our mixing to break this down just so it can get coated, and breaking the sands down into it. You can see already that the small amount of chemical that we've added in here is already starting to break down. And what you can see inside here basically is that the tar sands are actually turning back into sands. They're not rock, they're sand. And the oil, the crude oil that mixed over years again, just basically clung to it. So the hydrocarbon molecule is just stuck to the sand molecules, the crystal molecules in here, and allowing it to. What we're doing with Janus J12 is we're separating it in a liquid form. This is at room temperature. There's no heat, no steam, nothing being added into there. Currently, the way it's done in Canada and in Utah is they'll take this, they'll steam it to between 180 to 240 degrees and sometimes higher to allow water to break this away. But what the water does is only separates it from 80% of the sand. Ours will separate it 100% from the sand, and because we have so much liquid now, I can add, if I wanted to, even more on there to separate the tar sands and that. But right now what we're going to do is mix it up until we get a good coating of our product. Now this would normally be done in a centrifuge with sprayed water would come through it in a factory kind of setting. And a factory would not be a massive factory, it would be basically a small, almost mobile factory that you would use a hopper to drop it into, and it would get coated in a fashion. As you can see right now, I can mix this just like it's a milkshake with my hand. And the only thing that I'm really mixing up now is just making sure that the sand is completely around the jar. So yeah, you can see now it went from this rock to me being able to stir this around and around and around. Okay? On the sides of there's oil. Okay. This requires no water, but for the demonstration purposes of today, to show the separation of oil from sand, even though I can tell by mixing it that there's oil and separating here, you can't see it from the eye. So what we're going to do is take regular Ozarka water from here in Texas, and just to prove that it's just regular water, take a drink of it. I'm going to pour it into here And remember, this is strictly for demonstration purposes. And what you're going to see shortly is a separation of the water, the oil, and the sand from the product. Once it starts to separate out there and rises above it, like I can see it right now, but it'll take it a few seconds for it to clear up, it will look like this. This was done a year ago. This is the sands here on the bottom that you can see very clearly. They're clean sands, and on the top here, this is the same clear water, and above that is just nothing but oil. So if I dip my hand into this oil here and pull it out, it's just pure oil. So what was in the tar sands, actually in here, is separating out to where the oil and the water will separate by themselves. It takes a few seconds for you to see it with the water. This demonstration will be done even quicker in the sunlight. So when you're done with it, basically what you now have is just pure tar sand, pure sand, for which we will put on this napkin to show you exactly what the sand from this rock, the sand ends up being that, which is just pure sand. And looking at this and feeling this, you can't even smell any hydrocarbons left in the sand. You could put this sand right back on the ground just like it was made, millions and millions of years ago. So that rock became this sand, which separated that water into here, which is oil on top, which is in this demonstration right here. Okay, now we have the same Janus J12 what we mixed earlier out here, and you can see some bubbles that looks like an old lava lamp. That's still oil that still has so much clays mixed in with it. You can see that they'll work their way to the top, and some will work down. That's clay came out of the top that weighs so much, but it still has a little bit of oil mixed in there. If you look real close in here, you can see the separation of clean sand and still oil on the sand out here and clean sand at the top. Now the reason why you see that is because we use a turkey spoon basically to move this around. In a real factory setting, you would mix this up in a centrifuge and you would get 100% coating. So the hydrocarbon molecules have all bounded with the Janus J12 product, and they're on the top. And when you look at the top of this, from the top here, you can see the oil on the top. And it's moving around. That's just oil there, okay? It's got Janus J12 into it. And that oil, we want to pour out of here, water and oil. What we would end up having is there on the bottom here is the sand. When we dry it out, generally you have what's called a gun barrel, and oil would rise to the top, water would be in the middle, and the sands would drop out in a factory setting so oil could skim off the sides and you would process it. The difference between this and tar sand and the way tar sands are done now, they do nothing to upgrade the API or to lower the viscosity of the oil. In this case out here, not only do we lower the viscosity of the oil almost to as light as you can get, and I guarantee this API is somewhere around 18 to 24 from the test we've recently done on here with this oil out here, we now can prove up that this oil is exactly what you could use as what we call medium to light oil. This